Hey Hunters, HaloZoo here for a kind of special video. Just looking at Diablo 4, because yes, I play this game a lot, I enjoy it a lot, and the new expansion, which I mostly enjoy. Oh, wait, wrong thing. Minus one glaring problem. Well, okay, actually there's a few issues, but mostly it's just minor nitpicks outside of this one big one where it's like, well, I'm not sure why they added damage multipliers. Those kind of feel unnecessary. Like, just extra fluff that's like, oh yeah, here's even more damage, which, meh. But most of it is, there's some stuff that could have been done a little better, but it's not necessarily bad. And then there's the skill tree. Now, I want to make it clear there were genuine improvements. Specifically, and how I'll overall describe it is one step forward that was a very good step forward, and then two steps backward, where they had a good idea, but it unfortunately falls flat because other changes were made that make absolutely zero sense and is pretty much the exact opposite of what they should have done. And another thing I want to be clear now, I'm going to rip this band-aid off. No Diablo game has had a good skill tree or skill progression. None of them have gotten it right. Ironically, though, I will say I do think the closest they ever got was actually Paladin before Lord of Hatred came out. I'll be honest, that was actually, I think, the closest to good they got. And another thing I want to make clear, original Diablo 4 skill tree sucked too. I will say, there was a lot of positives with it compared to the new one. However, the one improvement this one makes is a really good improvement that sort of makes up for it. It's kind of a weird mixed bag of, like, once again, none of them are good. Like, none of them have been amazing. Because, like, either Diablo 2, where it's 3 skill bushes that are just boring as heck with all the skill ranks. And I've played a bit of Diablo 2. I've never fully gotten into it, but I will say I've never found the skill tree interesting. Where skill ranks just take away from it all, in my opinion. And there's also no skill variance, which is something Diablo 3 added, which was really cool with the rune system of, okay, well, you don't just have one skill, you now have 6 that are variations on what that skill does, which was really cool. Except for the fact that Diablo 3 also decided, oh, instead of getting a proper skill tree where you get to choose what you unlock when and go down this interesting tree, you instead just linearly get everything. You don't even get to pick the order. It's not like, oh, well, you unlock a basic attack, and then you unlock a core skill, and then you get a basic rune. It's very linear to a fault, which isn't great. So that definitely wasn't good. And then Diablo 4, and of course I'm not talking about that Diablo game. So there's two I'm not talking about, but one is the first game that didn't have a skill tree, and the other is, well, Diablo Immortal, which I'm not counting. But Diablo 4's original skill tree, it was kind of a take elements of Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 and mix them together, where there's more types of skill, so there's 6 different types of skill that you get, which much better than Diablo 2, I'll be honest. And the skills actually have some amount of variance. Once again, much better than what we had in Diablo 2, where you can actually change what the skill does. They weren't great, but you had them. And there was also a lot more passives, which meant there was more stuff that just worked all the time, which, while they weren't always the best, and this is another thing I'm going to point out, I am not saying that the passives before were good. I'm saying that they were at least a good addition that helped make your points feel like they actually matter. Where you're not spending like 90% of your points on like 3 different skills. Instead, you're spending more of your points on something new, even if it's just a little thing. At the very least, most of your points weren't just slightly improving one skill. And while some of them, and one that I'll point out as kind of the poster child of what went wrong with the previous passives, is stuff like max resource increases, where why would I ever want to invest 3 skill points in +3 max resource per point for 9 in a game where, like, a cheap skill is like 24 or 15 resource? Like, I don't think, can Rapid Fire? Yeah, Rapid Fire can't get that low. But it's like, what do you mean I can't get enough max resource that increases that I can't even cast an extra skill unless I have a ton of resource cost reduction, which itself wasn't in a great place, and honestly still isn't, because it's so low, especially as you progress, where it's like you have to have like 5 items with it before you even notice something's happened. So they weren't great, and I will also agree, like, some of them were very boring. Like, going over to Paladin, they did have a bunch, which, as we kind of know, is because they kind of phoned it in with that one, where here's just a bunch of very boring, basic increases that aren't good, but they're just little things that are kind of throwaway, like, oh, here's Holy and Fire damage, Core skill damage, Justice skill damage. Though, one thing I will give it is, at the very least, those are affecting multiple different skills, which was actually nice. And also the effects of, oh hey, you've got stuff that's affecting all of your skills, where it's like, at the very least, I'm not spending 3 points to make one skill better. I'm spending 3 points to make a variety of skills better, or at least buffing a certain type of skill that I may only have one of more, but it is buffing multiple different skills rather than just the one skill. So there was at least that, where they weren't great, but they were nice to have. Another good description would be, are they perfect? No. But they're better than nothing. And they just needed work to be more interesting. Like, that's what I'm saying. Instead, what we saw happen was they decided, okay, well, we're going to totally rework the skill tree. We're going to gut all the passives, even the core passives at the very end that were actually very interesting and fun. Like, oh, it ends at the ultimate now. Whoop-de-effing do. The core passives were really cool, Blizzard. Why? Like, okay, the one passive that was good and cool, that's gone. Ripped away from us for really no reason. And then all the other passives were ripped away too in favor of 10 more skill ranks for every skill. And now I have the max skill points. And I've got 3 skills I can't max out. Really? It's so stupid. Like, it's like, yeah, I can do that, I guess, but actually I might keep that, but it's like, okay, so I can like put 15 in 4 skills, and then I have a 4 more, like 4 and 1, and then 1 that doesn't get any points because that's all I got. It's just not as interesting. And so the big issue of this is, before, if we were to compare it, so for Vessel of Hatred, you had, I believe, let me double check the math, 71 points. So you got 71 points in Vessel of Hatred. Well, of those 71 points, only 24 would be spent maxing out your skills. And you also got to max out all 6 of your active skills. It wasn't like now where you have to pick and choose what gets maxed out. And while, yes, that's a quote-unquote choice, it feels very boring by comparison. It's never going to be as interesting, because that's like at least, because that is a lot of skills that are just, it's like you just spend a lot of points on one thing, making that one thing better. And it's not even like Diablo 2, where I believe it was an update, from what I've heard, that added skill synergy, where, oh, if you invest in this one skill, you get some passive bonuses to a few other skills. That doesn't exist anymore. That is completely absent. And so there's no benefit for anything else if I put my points in Heartseeker or like Rain of Arrows. There's no benefit to that. Where it doesn't matter if I to anything else. That's it. So you just have skill ranks now. And before it was like, okay, you only have 24 points that were wasted on skill ranks, maxing out all your skills out of 71, which was about, so that would be, I'll have to double check this now. Yeah. Like, it's 9. Oh, actually, I think Or actually, is it divided by 24? Just checking math real quick. Yeah. So it's like only a third of your skill points were being used for skill ranks, while the rest were mostly spent on new stuff and stuff that buffed all of your abilities. So it was a bit. However, the point is, it wasn't the majority of your points wasted on that. Now, things have unfortunately flipped around, where now only 24 points are being invested. And do keep in mind that 24 could actually be reduced to all the way down to 16 on Necromancer, as Necromancer had the amazingly convenient ability to say, oh, by the way, I'm going to just ignore my two of my skills, because I have two that I can just passively have, so you can get down to only 16 points having to be spent on skill ranks. Now, you have up to 24 points, the same number that was wasted on skill ranks before, as the only points that actually matter at all, beyond just buffing one skill. So, you just have your 4 points per skill for your 6 skills on your hotbar. And for Warlock, this is worse, because lo and behold, one of your buttons is essentially a mandatory, is actually taken away because you have to have the demon. Well, that means you only get 5 buttons, which means you only have 20 points spent on actual abilities and their upgrades, with the rest of the 83 being practically pointless, where it's like, why should I care about having them all? So, which is an even smaller fraction of your points too, where it's like, yeah, sure, you know, you've got like, yeah, it's now 2/7 of your points are actually spent on something new, meaning it's a much smaller ratio of actual, like, points that matter to points that just feel useless. They're just dead. So it's very much a, I care about less of my points, which also is going to have other negative effects on the game beyond just the skill tree experience, where I feel like there's only 24 choices that matter, and then the rest is, well, what do I want to invest in? And respecking is now more annoying, because if I wanted to, say, swap from Barrage to Rapid Fire as my main core ability, well, now I've got to press this button 15 times. And then press this button 15 times. And then pick whichever of these, which this is actually an interesting choice. Where it's like, okay, let's go, I guess, crit chance, because I don't really have that much vulnerable. I don't generate ferocity, so keep in mind this one's probably a bad choice. I could go faster one or hit harder. We're going to go for hit harder and ricochet more. So that's what it takes to respec one of these skills now. where it's like, I've got to press more buttons because there's more points. Whereas before, if I was still going a marksman build, well, I can just respec, hit this 5 times, and then go over here, and then invest my points there. But now, it's so much more of a chore where it's like, oh, I've got more buttons to press, yay! And then... you know, I've got more buttons to press, just a whole ton of other annoyances. So it's not really that good as a result of that, where it's like, oh. Okay, I will hit that. So it's not annoying me. So it's more annoying to respec, where before at least, like, it was easier to respec within a certain build. So this isn't counting, oh, well, I'm going from marksman to cutthroat, where it's like, oh, I'm going cutthroat now, or maybe I'm going imbuement to traps. So it could still be annoying before, but at the very least, if I wanted to change one active skill for another, it was so much easier before. And now it's way more annoying, because there's a lot of extra button presses that don't need to be there. And so then we get into another big issue that I will point out, because there was another change made out of nowhere. They brought back level locked progression. So, now granted, it's done better than Diablo 3. I will give them that, where they did at least say, okay, well, it's level locked, but you do at least get a choice of what you want, where it's like, okay, well, you know, your first point's always going to be a basic skill, so you get 1, then you get your core skill, pick your core skill, then later pick your defensive, then you get to pick a first upgrade for a basic, then first upgrade for a core, then, oh, you've got this category. So you do at least have choices now, rather than being a totally linear progression. But, to be blunt, it is nowhere near as good. And that is for 2 reasons. A, the big one is going to be that, well, the way we had it before was better. Because before, it was more dynamic where, okay, well, to get core skills, I have 2 skill points to spend here. So I would put a point here, get an upgrade, and then I would get this. So then I can get my core skill, go down here, and it was based on the points you spent, which was a lot more dynamic. Now, initially, this would be kind of a net zero, where, well, okay, as you spend points, that's gonna put you on the same path, except there's a system outside of it, which is negatively affected by this level locking. And I'll talk about that in a moment, but the other problem that comes up is once you hit level 25 and you get the major upgrade for your ult, you're done. There's nothing else for you in the game that brings in interest. You've got everything maxed out. You've got your 6 skills. You've got all of the upgrades available. All that's left for the remaining levels all 45 of them is just 45 levels of mindless, just putting skill ranks in. That's it. The only question is, okay, what order am I going to put my skill points in? It's like, okay, well, I guess I'll go basic or core, then get the other, then I guess pick a third skill I care about, maybe put some points in my ult. It's just not fun or interesting. Like, I haven't even capped my Warlock yet, and I'm already bored of leveling them. There's nothing interesting about it anymore. At least with passives, it was like, okay, well, which passives do I want? Oh, I'm getting a lot of new things. Where before it was like, okay, yeah, passives aren't great, but at least I'm getting all of those new things. I'm investing in something new, not something I've already unlocked and spending points only to buff one thing a little bit to make it as powerful as possible. Now, I don't care. And technically, I will say, there is the third upgrade that I will agree that I'm not the biggest fan of it being a DLC exclusive, but I do understand, like, locking some functionality of the game's big update to it. And I would understand if it's like, okay, well, next expansion's bringing, say, a fourth upgrade, major upgrade choice. Which, by the way, I would absolutely love that. I do enjoy the 2 minor, 1 major upgrade. And one thing I would like is a fourth upgrade. And even more specific to my main, aka Rogue, please give Marksman a Shadow and Cold Imbue. Like, maybe make Forceful Arrow, like, oh, when it propels, it chills them as well. Or, like, it chills each hit, but if you propel, it chills twice as much. And maybe, like, Heartseeker explodes on crit or something. Oh, actually, I want that. That would be nice, just casually give me actual, like, elemental abilities. Because right now, I feel awful that it's like, oh, I'm dedicated to bow, but I'm screwed over because I don't get elemental attacks. Yeah, that's fun. And I might eventually do, like, a whole thing mentioning ideas that I have for a fourth upgrade, but that's one thing I would like. Also, a second minor upgrade after these. So it's like, oh, I've got Devouring Arrow. Maybe I could get one that's like, oh, well, it splits more, like, pierces one more time, or maybe it's also giving me ferocity or something. Maybe, I don't know. And just an upgrade that actually cares about this. So it's like, oh, it affects this. So a good example might also be with Ballista, where maybe it makes Ballista shot even wider, or like maybe it now ricochets instead of just piercing in a line, it now ricochets or something. Also, that is one of my favorites. And another thing I will give him credit for, at least, I do like how some of the old legendary aspects are now just major upgrades. Very cool. I probably would have used this if I didn't find this to be absolutely amazing. So, the skills themselves are better. Don't get me wrong. It's just everything around it is worse. So, like, leveling experience is worse because of this. The whole build crafting is worse because of this. And I'll also say, I'm pretty sure hardcore is going to be worse because of this, because lo and behold, having passives to increase durability was really, really nice. Compared to now, where you don't have that. So I suspect when I try getting that done finally, it's going to be bad. Also, still probably going to die to explosive enemies, but that's a whole other thing. But there's one other system that was negatively hit by this. Regional Renown. Those extra skill points are useless now. I could not care less about having these all now. Because before it was like, oh, well, 14 more points? That's at least 4 new passives that 3 of which can be maxed out, and another can be, like, mostly maxed out. Now, oh, whoop-de-doo, I guess I can max out 1 more skill. Like, oh, I get to max out my imbuement now. Yay. That's it. That's all I get out of it. Is max out 1 more skill. Because if I didn't have it, I wouldn't have these points to max it out. I wouldn't be able to, like... It's like, if I didn't have them, that's what my skill tree would look like. And I couldn't care less. It's like, that's all I can do with it. Great. Thank you, Blizzard. I now care about regional renown less. Which I will at least give them benefit of the doubt and say, I highly doubt they really thought about it. And I don't think they realized that it does severely impact regional renown and feels way worse as a result. So, some benefit of the doubt there. And then also, the other issue is the other issue with leveling, where before, regional renown really made leveling more interesting, where it's like, oh, I can just fast track through rather than having to wait forever to get my core skill. Well, now, I can get all the way to defensive skills and be fine. It's like, okay, I get to defensive skills, I've got some passives, I got my basic skill and core skill, and it actually felt good. Now? Oh, whoop-de-doo, I guess I can max out my basic attack. Whoop-de-effing-doo. I don't care about it anymore. It's like, the only reason I have regional renown now is because, like, well, I guess I didn't have more points. Like, I just get it. I don't care that I've got it. And in general, I do think they have really negatively impacted it, where it was like, you got more potions. Though I think that was just removed because it was making the game a bit too easy, which, fair-ish. I just really preferred having it there. As it was like, oh, well, I actually can get potion capacity. But now it's like, oh, I don't care. So, ultimately, regional renown is worse. Leveling is worse. Buildcraft is worse. It just feels like the skills themselves are better, but everything else is a downgrade. And it's really 1 step forward, 2 steps back, in my opinion. And it's really sad. So, to not end on a downer, here is my suggestions for what could be done to improve it in the next expansion. Whatever that happens to be. So, whatever it happens to do, this is my suggestions to fix the skill tree and make it actually the best we've ever had, and an actually good skill tree, unlike every other Diablo game. Step 1. Remove the extra skill ranks. Get them out of my sight. I don't want to see more than 5 skill ranks ever again. I would even like if they were gone entirely. That would be great, you know? Just banish them to the void forever. But I will say they could reduce it back to 5 and then add the minor upgrade to the major. So you've got that. But here's the twist. If they do keep 5 skill ranks, what if each skill rank, instead of just slightly improving the skill, what if that unlocked the upgrades? So it's now point-based, but based on the skill itself. So if I put 1 skill point in, I unlock the skill. So that just unlocks the skill for me. And then if I put a second point in, oh, look, I get the first upgrade. 2 points, second upgrade. 3 points, major upgrade. Or, well, 4 points. So it's 2, 3, 4. Oh, major upgrade. 5 points. The upgrade to that. So you get 5 different. So as you progress and rank up the skill, that's how you unlock the extra upgrades. So you're only spending at most 10 points in a skill. Extra points if they also say, okay, well, you just get the upgrade for free. So you're only spending 5 points in a skill, but each point gets you more out of that skill bush. That's another thing I'll say. These are skill bushes, not skill twigs anymore. They're not skill trees, but skill twig at least. Or rather, the skill twigs are gone, replaced by a skill bush, which is actually interesting. So that's a possibility for these, where you now invest points to unlock the upgrades with skill ranks, rather than just having skill ranks be a mindless, brain-dead thing. They actually do contribute beyond just slightly improving your damage. And then, the most important thing, undo the passive purge. Bring passives back. Not as they were, but better. Make more dynamic choices. Give more impact to them, where it's like, okay, well, now if you get max resource, it's going to upgrade it by 10 per point. Maybe even remove ranks on them entirely, but it might be, well, okay, this little branch has... Now, some could be duplicated. For example, you could put, like, extra max resource down a, like, core skill branch where it's like, okay, well, there's 3 nodes that give extra max resource, but that's one that's kind of a freebie anyway. But it could be like, oh, well, core skills cost 25% more, but do 50% more damage as one, maybe as just a one and done. You don't have to invest multiple in it. Or at the very least do it, but it's like, hey, they're more interesting where it's like, okay, well, a certain category of skill gets an upgrade. Like, and more unique, like, triggered effects, like, oh, when you crit, or when you gain fortify, or while you have a barrier, or each hit with skill type X affects skill type Y, or stuff like that, where it's very clear that it's not just flat extra damage, though some of those spread around here and there would be nice. I think that would be much more interesting, where I'm not spending almost all of my points mindlessly to buff one skill. I have stuff that buffs a variety of skills, where it's like, oh, marksman skill damage. I'd rather put 3 points into marksman skill damage than spend 10 points buffing only one of my skills. And then also, another suggestion is for core passives, or key passives, make them like active skills, where there is, like, you unlock multiple different mini upgrades for it, like, let's say, natural balance, for example. You might have one that says, oh, well, maybe one of the upgrades would be, and this is an example for Druid, not Rogue, when you trigger natural balance, it's actually guaranteed for skills with a cooldown, or maybe it has a slightly lower chance, but skills cast with it have +5 ranks. And then maybe the third one would be like the mix it up, or rather have 2 mix it up ones, where one is oh, well, now this swaps over to werewolf and werebear, where those would instead summon a spirit werewolf or werebear to do the skill, and it turns into a werewolf werebear branch. Or the other one could be, it now instead has a random chance to trigger a skill of the same element. So storm skills trigger storm skills, earth skills trigger earth skills, sort of thing, where if you're doing storm burst or stone burst, it is a chance to do landslide instead of twister or lightning storm. And lightning storm has a chance to trigger twister. Stuff like that, where it changes up the gameplay. Another possibility could also be, and minor upgrades could be maybe, like, these skills have a higher chance. Skills cast through it have a higher crit chance, or maybe you get, like, 5 spirit each time it happens. Maybe it could also, and the other could be like, you gain attack speed each time one happens, or maybe you have a slight chance to trigger it a second time. Or instead it's like, you have a slight chance to trigger both different skills or something. I don't know. But kind of do stuff like that with the key passives, so they're more interesting and dynamic. So I think that would be cool as a way to change that up, where, the key passive is treated like a normal skill, even though it's a passive, which would be even more fun as a way to cap off your build. So those are just a few ideas to improve it. Overall, as much as I want to like it, I just can't like the skill rank stuff. I'm really upset that Blizzard did that. Like, ever since I first saw that, I'm like, I hate this. I really don't like this now. So hopefully they undo their passive purge. But the rest of the expansion is mostly good, at least, so there is that. But without further ado, I'll see y'all next time. HaloZoo out.